Is hit then brush just a myth? Even many pro players struggle to truly understand it. This is an advanced concept that takes hours of deliberate training just to get the right feel. In today's video, we're busting the hit and brush myths with the detailed instruction on how to execute the technique. And no one explains it better than Coach Feng. Let's dive in.
Let me demonstrate with an example where there's a lot of impact, say 70 to 80% impact and 20% friction when hitting the ball. Take a look. You'll hear a loud bang sound, indicating a lot of impact, but you'll notice the ball's trajectory is very straight. The arc isn't good because there's too little friction. Less friction means less spin, hence a straighter trajectory. So, the power is strong, the sound is loud, but the stability isn't high. Now, watch as I demonstrate a normal way of hitting the ball, where the ratio is roughly 65% impact to 35% friction, or maybe 60% to 40%. This is the normal loop. The ratio is 60% impact and 40% friction. It could also be 50% to 50%. Now, watch as I demonstrate looping with more friction and less impact. See, this loop has more friction. You'll see these three shots where I use the same motion, but vary the ratio of impact to friction, from more impact to balance to more friction. You'll notice the last shot doesn't have as much speed, but the spin is very strong, and the arc is excellent. So, whether you focus on impact first or friction first, it doesn't matter as long as you understand the principles. You can choose to emphasize impact or friction based on the situation. You can just focus on friction first if you are beginner level. My personal opinion is, if the ball lower than the table, brush first. If the ball higher than the net, hit first. For example, if the ball is high and you want to attack aggressively, if you focus on friction first, what happens? You'll see the ball still has a lot of spin, but since it's already high above the net, you don't need such a pronounced arc. A straight trajectory is enough to land the shot. In this case, you should increase the impact and add just enough friction to ensure stability. Watch as I demonstrate hitting a high ball with more impact. Which one do you like, this loop or the previous one with more friction? Which one would you prefer, the first shot with more spin or the second shot with more power? When you get an opportunity ball, you definitely choose the second one because it's so fast the opponent can't react. The first one, even with strong spin, gives the opponent time to react and possibly return it, but the second one, unless they guess right, even top players like Ma Long or Fan Jiandong wouldn't be able to return it. It's like a gamble, they can only guess. So, the ratio of impact to friction depends on the ball and the situation. There's no fixed rule. Now, let me clarify something. Hit then brush isn't about literally hitting first and then brushing. No top player does it that way. What we call impact and friction is actually about pressing and brushing. When I hit the ball, if I rotate my wrist to create a brushing motion, there's no impact. Look at my wrist snapping at this moment. If I use this angle to grind the ball, there will be no impact, right? But if I press forward with my wrist at an angle and then rotate, that's the pressing part, the impact. Only then can you add the brushing motion. If you just hit and then try to brush, it won't work. The impact comes from how you contact the ball, and the friction comes from the follow-through. It's all about adjusting the ratio.
你这样撞谁能撞？谁也撞不了。是的。你撞完以后，你摩擦不进来。你这么撞这么磨，它是摩擦不进来的。是的。
It's actually should call press then brush. No one can bump then brush it forward.
调控它的撞击多与少。对。叫做实际叫什么？实际叫顶擦。对。没有人能做到就是撞击与摩擦。
And no, you can't brush first and then hit. That's impossible. It's always about the ratio. Don't waste time arguing whether impact or friction comes first. It all depends on looping style of each players, varying from the game strategy. The ball's high. It's a chicken and egg problem. Even if the whole world says friction comes first, it won't help you hit better if you don't understand the principle. It's simply a matter of the ratio between spin and impact in your stroke. It varies from person to person. For example, my shots might have a certain spin-to-impact ratio, while another player's might be different. Personally, I tend to use more impact because I prefer explosive, powerful shots. As Coach Feng mentioned, the key is to press impact first and then brush spin. If you try to brush first and then press, the ball will likely drop or become too soft. Now, for every player, you see, there are 3 key elements: speed, power, and spin. Take me for example, I tend to use more impact in my shots, which makes them more explosive and faster. But then look at someone like Sudin. He's ranked among the national team's top spin generators. His game is built on extreme spin, so naturally, his friction-to-impact ratio is much higher. Nowadays, you rarely hear the pure brushing sound in professional play because the ball has changed. The old ball had insane spin, but the new one doesn't, so players have increased their impact ratio to compensate. But spin is still crucial. It ensures stability and threat. Because we need greater overall ball speed and power, but spin and friction must never be neglected. Even if table tennis changes to 50mm or 80mm balls, spin will always remain the core. It creates the arc, ensures stability, and maintains threat potential. However, if you want explosive, high-quality shots with penetrating power, you can't have too high a friction ratio. To truly threaten your opponent, this balance is absolutely crucial. But when you want to execute a powerful drive, you'll need to increase the impact ratio somewhat. I'm not saying to just smash it flat. What we mean by hit and brush is this. At contact, you firm your wrist to press forward, that's the impact, then immediately transition to the brushing motion. Watch, when I emphasize this press impact more, the shot becomes more penetrating. See how this slight adjustment creates a more forceful drive. Now as I press forward, I simultaneously rotate my wrist and fingers to add spin. But if I immediately snap my wrist at contact, watch closely. That's how I produce heavy topspin or a slow loop. Let me demonstrate. Here's a pure press, impact, hit with no friction. This is the press part of impact and brush. No friction, just pure hit, impact. Look at this impact. This is the loop with pure impact. Why contact and press the ball at this angle? Because with the wrist you can instantly add brushing motion. If you just flat hit and bump to the ball like this, you can't add the brushing with the wrist. Now, watch as I adjust the impact ratio. If I use 100% impact, very powerful shot. 80% impact, the trajectory is lower now, but the arc need to be shorter. 60% impact, this is ideal ratio for a backspin loop, when we need good attack. The press and brush happen almost simultaneously. Got it. Great. 2 more shots. Previously was 60% impact. Now let me show you a 30% impact. See that? More stable now.
这是稳定的。一层的
A 10% impact is what we use for safety slow
平时
loop.
加保险的时候，就是
This
在
is
摩
for a
擦
low
的
ball with
往
more
前
friction
下
to ensure it
我让我
lands,
的高调
brushing
手往
forward a
快一
little.
点往前多一些。
It's all about adjusting the hit-brush
这
ratio.
就是你自己所谓的调控的问题嘛。我早点转动这个手腕。
I use the wrist earlier. If I want more
跟
brushing,
先多
I press
顶
to
点
the
然后
ball
再
a little
动
more
手腕，那
before
不就是
turn the wrist
顶
for
得
more
多一点
impact.
我就冲的时候不就这么样吗？对吧？你看这个就是，比如说我现在
For
就是这个比
example,
赛正常我
in a
去冲
match,
那个球
when attacking, I'd use 60 to 70% impact and 30 to 40% friction for stability.
3、4成的摩擦作为弧
The
线
faster
的
the
支撑，
shot,
因为
the
你拉
more
的速度
spin
越
you
快
need to control
对
the
你的
arc.
旋转弧线要求越高，对吧？那你看我现在，比如说我现在，
But if
我
I'm
现在
nervous
紧
and
张
the
了
ball
我打
is
比赛呢
tricky,
我先
I
球
might
你看
use
我对
80% friction and 20% impact to ensure
我这样
accuracy.
我想去
You can't always
踢出来顶
prioritize
3层顶
impact
顶
or
顶
friction,
不
it
了
depends on the ball.
对，这种怎么办？你看我
You
刚才
have
就
to
是
ensure
大侧
your
的摩擦
success
和
rate.
顶
If you just
因为
try
我
to
要
increase the
用
impact
用
while
这个
being
球无法
nervous,
去包冲了
your
是
loop
的可以冲
mistakes
但是
rate will
容
increase.
易失误啊，容易失误，对吧？那所以说，你说撞击摩擦这个比例，你们
If
非
you
要
are
建议我
always
说让你
obsessed
先
with
撞击
impact
大家
first,
所有人都是
can
先
this
撞
kind
击
of
所有
ball
球
can
都
be
是
hit
先撞击吗
first?
这种球你也先撞击吗？这种球你也先撞击吗？这不是，对吧？那我说让你先摩擦，你戳个高
If
点
you're
这种
thinking
球你也
always
要先摩
brush
擦吗
first, can this kind of ball can be
来
brushed
一个，你
first?
看也要先摩擦吗？所以
There is no need
标
to
准
debate
的
whether
先
to
撞击
hit
还是
first
先
or
摩擦
brush
看
first.
球因人而异，看球。
There's no
再
one
去
size
调
fits
整
all
先
answer.
摩擦先撞击这种比例，对吧？这个大家现在能听懂了吧？
现在能听懂了，
对吧？今天也是拿出时间给大家
Hope
细
this
讲一下
clears
这个
things
问
up.
题。
If you understood today's lesson, give us a thumbs up.
撞击与摩擦，包括正手今天的所有的原理、基础原理，全部讲到大家。如果大家听明白，咱们扣分1，好不好？
Now you've seen it. Here is the list for your training plan to master this technique. Remember the default ratio of impact versus brush. Press towards the ball to get more impact, and use wrist more if you need to increase the spin. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe, keep practicing, and let me know any question in the comment.